And now back to House Calls. Here's your host, Dr. Christine Meuller.
Good morning, and we're very happy to have Dr. Rick Sigel in the studio with us this morning. And it turns out that Dr. Rick, I guess as he likes to be called, actually has a connection with my former twin at County. Now, I have to explain this. My twin was 6'4" Indian and had a mustache, so don't laugh. But we were paired up as family practice residents with another person, so that there was always coverage when we were on specialty services, as we spent a lot of time in the clinic. And so basically it was two doctors for the price of one you got when you got the family practice people. And so he went on to do sports medicine. So we're going to hear a lot about integrative and sports medicine and some of the new things that Dr. Rick's bringing. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
So let's talk a little bit about what you like to do in practice, or what this whole concept of integrative medicine is all about.
Sure. Well, my traditional training is with family practice. That's 3-year residency. I went on to do sports medicine residency or fellowship with Raj back in '95. And from then, it blossomed into finding my way to this thing called integrative medicine. This year, 2015, is actually the first year of being board certified. So it is blossomed into a practice that stems across several different specialties. I think it's a complement of what we're missing in traditional medical school residency training, in addition to having the fortitude and the knowledge and the evidence-based practice of Western medicine. The studies that you mentioned earlier, especially the 3D construction of a prosthesis,
so cool.
Unbelievable. I think Western medicine is fantastic. Evidence-based studies, technology and pharmacy, even the cyber surgeries that are now available are really pushing the limit for what we can do for healing people. But at the same time, I think as far as the grassroots of having people healthy, the primary care guys are kind of pushed for time and getting people in and out and putting Band-Aids, I think, on what really is supposed to be how we have people heal up and stay healthy, so they don't have to go to the fancy things. So it's a dynamic that I think is now being introduced, and it's becoming, at least I see it as being very popular as a whole person approach to getting healthy and staying healthy.
So it really focuses in not just on disease treatment, but actually more on prevention and on staying healthy, as you said.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So what kinds of things would fall under the line of integrative medicine, or what can integrative medicine provide that maybe traditional Western medicine can't?
In our fellowship study, at least in our 2 years of fellowship, we go through understanding and learning about other forms of healing. There have been practices of yoga healing, Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, that have been around for 5,000 years. And the studies are out there on the benefits, but truthfully, time has established that they work. So what I like to use is the Western medicine approach, the conventional medicine approach, about taking history, getting the details of a person, learning about a patient, and then making sure that they're healthy, there's nothing dangerous going on. And once that's taken care of and they're stabilized, then I pull back a bit and say, okay, how can I modify this person to get better with health? And that's where I find the integrative medicine approach is very strong. We go into nutrition. We go into counseling. We go into different forms of lifestyle change. As you know, sometimes what we'll do with primary care is if we say there's a hip issue, there's a altered gait, there's a problem with a knee that keeps on coming back, we'll send off to orthopedics or physical therapy. Sometimes when I get that before I send off, I'll look into, let's see, what have you done in the past? What do you like doing? What did you do when you were a high schooler? How many kids are you taking care of? What kind of work? How stagnant are you? That study that you mentioned about sitting all the time. How many times do you have somebody coming in with back pain and they're spending 8 hours on a terrible keyboard or a laptop in the car, commuting all the time? Exactly.
Yeah. In bed with the computer on your lap, and
right. Yeah.
So.
Well, that's society now. I think we have to accept the fact. I have to accept the fact that my patients do what they do. That makes me think about, I used to take care of a boarding school, or a gifted school in Florida, And at one point in time, we have a lot of kids from different countries coming in. One point in time, the kids that were from Japan were having headaches. I couldn't figure out why. We were thinking maybe there's carbon monoxide leaking in their side of the building, or maybe there's a food allergy that they're coming up with that they're trying to transfer over. You know what it turned out to be? It turned out to be that they were in bed, because there's a lights out time. They were in bed, sheets over their heads, cranked up on a pillow, reading at night, studying aggressively, and we figured out the headaches were from the tradition.
Wow.
The habit.
Wow.
So that's why I like, well, that's just an example of looking outside the box as far as finding the root cause of the mechanism that was failed or is failing or off balance. That's what I love about integrative medicine or the old-fashioned approaches is you look at what's off balance. If you see something that's, if somebody's, I have several CEOs that come in to see me, and they're very successful with what they do. But as you know, that when somebody comes in 60 hours a week and that's all they do, good for them, but that's out of balance. If you have no relaxation practice, if you have no getting out to nature, if you have always fast food, or you have to go buy food from somebody else because you have no time and it has to be prepared for you, there's going to be a hitch somewhere down the line. And I usually will look forward and say, well, I think everything is good for you now, but this is what I would like you to do to kind of balance out life before it gets to be depression or diabetes or hypertension. I mean, we can certainly take care of that. As you know, medicines are powerful, but why not take a step before that and say, let's predict the imbalance that you're having and try to work on it as best as possible with lifestyle change.
So if somebody's going to come see you, what kinds of stuff can they expect? Can they expect a whole bunch of questionnaires? Can they expect, some specialized testing? What kinds of things can they expect if they come to see you?
Great question. With me working with Advocate, I think we have to honor the traditional way of seeing patients. Certainly reimbursement is always a factor, so I have to still make sure that we're on a timely basis taking care of the usual patient clienteles that are coming in. So I will take a standard history and physical as usual, but I will usually interject a few questions here and there to kind of get what we call a gestalt for all those folks out there, kind of get an idea about what's going on. Is this person, even in the way they're answering me or the eye contact? And then if I see that there's something off balance, I might specifically go in deeper. Once I figure out a plan about what's in balance, what's off, what they're suffering from, then I'll get, within reason, the usual workup to make sure there's nothing life-threatening going on. If I see that they have limitations in their insurance, or I know that the referrals will take a week, then I might step in a different way. I'll have them refer to some of my ideas or my learning process. I usually put videos out online to empower people to make changes in lifestyle while they're waiting to see me. Sometimes I'll give them education that way. Sometimes I'll try to get them a consult. But if it gets to the point where I have somebody comes in with chronic pain, like chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia, where they're usually spinning from doctor to doctor with persistent symptoms and a whole load of medicines, and I'll say, pull back a little bit. Let me figure out if we have to do the fancy test. I also have some of the gifted people that, that's what I call them, fancy tests. Because there are a lot of industries out there that are taking advantage of the technology, and they're, whether they're good or not, there's randomized controlled trials to say that they do give us deficiencies. Some patients will ask for cortisol saliva tests. Very expensive, sometimes worth it. Sometimes if I know that you have a thyroid problem, if I know you're fatigued, if I know there's a sleep disorder, why spend $180 for something I'm going to tell you, okay, well, it's evidence there, but let's work on your sleep again. So I'll honor the patient in saying, okay, I'll consider that. I know which tests are good. There's an ALCAT test. There's the immunocaps test. Thousands of bucks to figure out that you have an allergy. If a patient needs that to empower them to make the change, I'll do it with some guidance to say, I think we can better invest our time and efforts other ways. If they're dead set on doing that, I will, again, reinforce. I'm there to help them get better. So whatever path they take, I can go into the fancy things, or I can go into the standard things that are covered by most insurances.
Excellent. We're going to take a break. We're happy to take phone calls for Dr. Ric at 847-931-1410, and we'll have some time after we come back to talk about how to reach Dr. Ric and how to get a consultation with him if that's desired, and talk some more about integrative medicine.
And now back to House Calls. Here's your host, Dr. Christine Meuller.
Good morning, and we're talking with Dr. Ric Seguil this morning in the studio, talking about integrative medicine. And actually, we've integrated our lives. Actually, in a lot of ways, we've had a lot of cross connections, many people in common in the past. So, anyhow, we're interested in learning how to take both traditional Western medicine or even advanced Western medicine, like 3D printing for parts, and then to include some of the other things. So you've mentioned yoga, you've mentioned some other things about testing, as far as the saliva cortisol testing and different things. So if somebody wants to come see you, what's the best way for somebody to get an appointment with you?
Well, the traditional telephone call at 630-213-3232 will get them linked to my staff, and then we'll introduce them guide them from there. I have a lot of people that reach out to me from the videos I do for patient education through the internet. So I do have a website. That's herbal411, HERBAL411.com. I have links to my appearances in the Chicagoland area, previous lectures that I've done, put online, and then the educational videos, as I mentioned before.
Great. So you're a techno guy, too. You get all this stuff on.
Limitedly, yes. Yeah, another tool. And again, I think the best thing I can do for my patients is to empower them. Whether it's empower them with inspiration to make changes, sustainable changes, or empower them with knowledge, which is what I think, we do as physicians, is you guide as best as possible, you protect, and you let them go, and hopefully they can sustain it. So I do as much as I can to have people know what to do, know what's there are some dangerous things out there too. On the internet, you can surf and get vinegar for candida, and within reason, it's my job to say that might not be the right thing to do, but it's also my job to say, listen, you're anxious, you're on 5 different medicines, but you have no relaxation practice. Why don't we start with a breath exercise routine, or get into a yoga class close by? So again, I think it's most important for us to be protecting our patients from what's out there too.
Great. And where would your office be if somebody's going to actually come see you?
In the city of Bartlett. It's 1054 Norwood Lane in Bartlett. Bartlett it's just south. There's a right off of 59, south of 59 and Route 90, and a little bit north of 88 or North Avenue and 59.
All right. And give us that phone number again in case somebody's been intrigued by our talk about integrative medicine.
Sure. It's area code 630-213-3232.
All right. And so what's your hope in helping people with, because obviously you can't do everybody. And so let's talk about some of the things that you would hope to do for patients, both on an individual basis as well as on a big scale through advocate, through your position, and so on.
Well, there's a saying from the Talmud, old scripture, and it says, heal or save one life and you save the world. And I've always kind of thought, if I can just take care of everybody. I was on an appearance with Windy City Live a little while ago, and I thought, wow, I'll be able to empower Chicago and further. And, it sometimes is too daunting a task. So I just say one person at a time. If that person heals up, next person. As you know, the mill of insurance-based medicine is about every 15 to 20 minutes a new person comes in. And we have to honor that. But we also have to work within those constraints. And then I think the ultimate goal is to empower. So I'll try to do as best as I can for one person. And I really see that it just blossoms. The kids will come in. The neighbors will come in. I took care of one teacher. Suddenly, I'm taking care of like the whole school.
Seems like the whole, the whole district. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's. I think it's very rewarding to me. But at the same time, I do think that we have a job, and I think with Advocate behind me, or this marriage of my practice and then the support of Advocate will really get us to make a big footprint in Bartlett and the Chicagoland area.
Awesome. So again, if somebody's interested in learning more about kind of integrative medicine or about seeing you as just a regular old family practitioner, how can they reach you?
Area code 630-213-3232, or if you're not in the area, online, I have links and access to me, and that would be herbal411.com, HERBAL 411.com.
Excellent. So great way to introduce a whole bunch of topics. Do you do Reiki by chance?
I don't, but I do have Reiki masters that are patients of mine. I'm having it done to me in about 2 weeks.
Excellent. So lots of integrative stuff. Do you do acupuncture?
Yes. I learned medical acupuncture with Joseph Helms back in 2000, and I have my room set up and ready to go.
Excellent. Excellent. So lots of different treatments available. And so if you're interested in doing those kinds of things, Dr. Seguil or Dr. Rick, I'm sorry, maybe the guy to talk to. Give us that phone number again because it's a complicated one.
Sure. Area code 630-213-3232.
And your main office is in Bartlett, so correct. That would be the place you would see most of your patients.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. And any last thoughts about integrative medicine and what you want the listeners to know about staying healthy?
Well, I think the bottom line is that doctors and the medical community is on the side of getting people healthy and empowering people for change. There are some people that embrace coming to the doctor's office, and that's good. There's also a large proportion of the community that still doesn't trust. I think that if people come to see me, I'll try to do my best with different ways of taking care of folks to get you to feel comfortable, and then from that point on, I will help to guide on lifestyle change that's sustainable. My objective is really getting people to 90 to 100, living independently without many medicines and hopefully not too many surgeries. I think if you do that, we've modeled some of the European and Asian communities of living to 100 and still being fruitful.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I got to say the European lifestyle, it becomes more and more intriguing. So maybe we'll have to move one of our satellite offices to Florence. How about that?
I'll put in my request in now.
So welcome to the Advocate family and Dr. Seguil talking about different integrative medicine techniques and different things that he does within the practice in order to help keep people, what is it? You keep them healthy, do the prevention thing, and so on. Right. And I think that really brings to a fore that, again, we can use the absolute best of the advanced Western medicine technology, like everything from 3D printing, I'm going to bring it up again, to going back to some of the other things, European lifestyle, doing a lot of walking, eating fresh, doing some relaxation things. And I think many other cultures have that way better than we do. And the thing I learned in Italy was you live, you work to live, you don't live to work, like we do here in the United States. And so I think that's so important. So thank you for coming in.
It is excellent. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Look forward to having you back again. And we're going to have to do a lot of talking about all the people we know in common off the air. So welcome, Dr. Seguil, to the Advocate family. And we look forward to a new topic. I think we're going to do wound care next month on the House Calls radio show.